We're here at Markeaton Garden Centre with Mark, our garden guru, and it is September's edition. So what we're going to talk about?
We're going to talk about taking cuttings. September's the perfect time for taking cuttings in the garden. Lots of people like to take cuttings, there's a lot of satisfaction in that, and I just thought it'd be nice to just do a little bit of a programme about taking cuttings. In actual fact, that's how I started off in the trade.
Yeah?
I took cuttings as one of my first job, and the satisfaction you get from taking cuttings and then seeing them grow, root, grow, and then plant them out in the garden, and from my point of view, sell them to people. It was absolutely incredible, and it's a really satisfying thing to do. So it's a good job to do.
So you're going to show us a few, with a few plants.
Yeah, well, obviously we haven't got any mature plants here today, so I've taken things off stock just to take a few cuttings off. Now, the reason why I've got a collection of plants here, we're taking cuttings, and this time of year you would take like tip cuttings or heel cuttings, and this is really for shrubs. So things like we've got a Strantia here, which is in flower, and probably think you couldn't actually take cuttings of this.
No.
This is a different way of propagating this, which we'll talk about in a later show. This is you do this by division. Okay.
Right. There's all different ways.
It's a different way. So you wouldn't take cuttings of that. It's just way too soft. So I'm talking about things like this is a new one. This is Physocarpus, little angel, beautiful shrub. I really like it, and I want to make more of it. So that's why you take cuttings.
Right.
So. So you start off with obviously the plants that you particularly like, and you can take several. I would, if you're going to take cuttings of one particular plant like the Physocarpus, you would take about 10 minimum. But for time, I'm going to take a few different cuttings and stick them in the same pot. So what I've got here is ordinary multi-purpose compost. This is Jack's Magic, which we sell here, and I've done it 50-50 with this eco grit that we've got here. You can use any sharp grit or sand, you can mix it in, but 50-50 is really good, really well drained compost. That's basically all you
do. You still need the big stones?
No, this is just an ordinary pot filled with compost. It's not too firm. It's firmer than what you would normally do. Also, I mean, you would use either a seed tray, which is traditional, but I'll show you what to do with the line in the cuttings like this. I prefer to do it this way than using a seed tray, and I'll tell you that in a second. Also, what you can do, a little tip. If you wanted to do multiple seed trays, cuttings, I would use a tray. You get these from, whenever you buy plants from a garden centre, you often see these trays. Often garden centres are trying to get rid of these trays, but they've all got drainage holes in. You can fill that full of compost, do it exactly the same way as that, and just stick 1 or 2 cuttings in each tray. So you can use the plastic trays, because these go into landfill. So it's a shame for them to go into landfill when you can actually, there's a pretty good use for them. And when you fill them with compost, when they root through, all you do is you push your fingers through and they pop out the trays, so you're not using multiple pots. So we've got the compost, we've got the drainage, now it's the plants. So I've picked out a few plants. Now I would pick plants that you really like. Just don't do it for the sakes of doing it. Pick plants that you really want to use, and you want to. And these plants that you root, say for instance, you've got Hebes or the Physocarpus, and all 10 root. You probably wouldn't pick all 10 to plant in your garden again. I would give them to friends or sell them or something. So you're making money. That's how you make money in horticulture, through propagation. So I've got Physocarpus. Also, interesting enough, we can take cuttings of this Physocarpus because it hasn't got a PBR. Now, a PBR is plant breeders' rights, so you shouldn't take cuttings of it. It's very naughty if you do. They're usually very, very new plants. So we've got a beautiful hibiscus here. not as beautiful as Liz, but it's really nice. It's a brand spanking new plant, and people are often tempted to take cuttings of it because usually when it's a new plant, it tends to be quite expensive.
So
at the bottom of the label, it does actually say, you know, you're prohibited from taking cuttings of this particular plant because it's got plant breeders' rights. And it's the right thing to do because this particular plant has been in testing for 9 years. So somebody's been testing that for 9 years and a lot of money into producing that plant. So, right, on with cuttings then.
Yeah.
So you take a good section of plant. I mean, it'll to stand it because it's a nice big bushy plant anyway.
Can you take more than one out of that then?
Yeah, absolutely. If what you're looking for is really what's called semi-ripe wood. So it's, you know, you wouldn't take the very, very tops. I mean, even that is quite good now because we're moving on to the end of the season. It's not very soft. If it's really soft growth, it tends to wilt on you if you take the cuttings. And that's what a lot of people make the mistake. They just take the little tips there and that wilts and it dies and they lose interest, you know. What we've got here is a good section of semi-ripe wood there, and what you do, you can either use a knife or you use a very sharp pair of secateurs. So you take a snip just underneath the leaf joint there. I'm going to use a knife just to show you this. So this is a nice sharp knife, and knives tend to make a cleaner cut. So you put the knife under there, you hold the leaf, you pull it through, and it makes a really nice cut there. And you just clean off. Try not to cut the fingers off because that would be bad. Then you've got a stem there. Now I think that stem's pretty good. You get the knife in there and you've got 2 leaf joints there. 2 leaf joints is always good. And then you bring the knife through and I'm making a slanted cut there at the top. So that stops the water from staying on the top and it just drains away and it stops the top from rotting. So you've got 2 perfectly good shoots there. You've got a nice stem. You can make it longer if you wanted to. And because cuttings and plants lose water through the leaf, it's called transpiration, we try and reduce that by cutting through the leaf. It's actually easy with secateurs. Hormone rooting powder. It's just a powder that you put on the end of the cutting to stop it from rotting, and because again it's rotting and disease that's the problem with cuttings. You can also get rooting gel. The gel is ideal for fuchsias and geraniums, anything a little bit softer, really, but the powder is great for shrubs and stuff like that. A little tip I want to show you is what we do in the trade when we're taking cuttings. Is that's an ordinary cutting and most people are happy with that, but if you get your knife and just cut along there, it's very, and you just start to expose what's called the cambium layer, which is a yellowy green section of the stem, and then you do it again on the other side, and that was pretty good there. So you've got it's just starting to go a little bit green there. That's the cambium layer, and that's where the roots form. So the more area that you can get exposed to the cambium layer, the better chance you've got of it rooting. So it's always a good thing to do that. So we dip it in the hormone rooting powder, so it sticks to the cutting because it's a nice fresh cutting. That's always key as well. Don't do your cuttings all in one go. We did one earlier on. That's starting to wilt now. It's starting to discolour, but once you've got it in and you're in damp compost, it's ready to go. So normally the lids have got a dibber in, so you put the dibber in, give it a twist. You stick you can feel the bottom there. So all you do is you just firm it in with your fingers. And that's your first cutting. Just like that. It's really, really simple. So
have you watered the soil first? Or?
That's quite damp, that compost. It was almost perfect, but if that was dry, I would have given it a good water, leave it to drain, and then use it. But you can feel how damp that is. Different plant here. This is a Weigela. I'll just quickly do it with secateurs because it is quicker. And
so it's the same
thing. I'm doing it slightly longer to show you, and you see the leaf is 2, it's not staggered, it's 2 opposite. Again, exactly the same procedure, and you just fold it over, prune it off, and that's your cutting.
I thought of that.
And then let's just trim the cutting off again.
It allows you more room as well.
It does,
doesn't
yeah.
take up as much room.
Yeah, you don't get overcrowding because again, overcrowding can create disease because you need good airflow around. Right.
Off.
Okay. So we'll just scrape off the cambium layer. There we go, nice and clean. So go in with the rooting powder again, straight in the hole. You can feel the bottom, and then because if you don't quite feel the bottom and you go about halfway, if you leave a little bit of a gap in the compost, roots don't grow into thin air.
Oh, right.
So it's important that you make sure you touch the cutting touches compost. Okay. So we've got a few there. The other type, because they're tip cuttings, the other type is a heel cutting. Now heel cutting, slightly different, usually on conifers and certain shrubs. Again, very, very quick. You can actually, if you see the way that it's formed on the branch there, if you just get your fingers and just pull at it, it does that. Does that. So it's very. So you're left with that. You get the sharp knife. You clean off the excess. Try not to rip it. And then clean off the excess. This is a Thuya conifer. And that's your cutting, so it's very, very quick, but that's a heel cutting.
And it's the same.
Exactly the same principle. We'll just go around again. So this is just a mixed pot of cuttings.
So this is all right for any plant?
Any kind of cuttings, yeah. Any kind of these type of plants. So you've got your pot full of cuttings there. You would go all the way around. And the reason I said earlier that I prefer doing a pot rather than a seed tray is with a pot, all the cuttings, whenever you look at a seed tray, all the cuttings around the edge of the seed tray root better than the ones in the middle. Now the reason for that is because the heat goes into these pots and it's warmest at this edge. So if you put all your cuttings around the edge of this pot, they're more likely to root.
Okay.
So it's a really good tip.
So you don't put any in the middle here?
No, I wouldn't bother. I'd just do a couple of pots like this, just doing the ones around the edge, and you're almost guaranteed all the time to have these cuttings root on you. Like I say, so that's very simple. All you would need to do now is just make sure it's kept damp, not overwatered, and certainly not drying out. And another great tip is, you know, the sprays that you can, the little bottle sprays that you can get, just something like that with water in, and just spray over the top. And you can put that in a light windowsill, nowhere too hot so it'll dry out, or you can put it outside in a sheltered position away from any strong winds and so on.
Sounds easy enough.
So it's very easy, it's a good way. And when you think about it, that particular plant there, $7.99, that plant there, $6.99, that plant there, $9.99. So you're saving a lot of money by doing your own propagation at home. So it's well worth taking cuttings, and you get so much satisfaction from it. You really do.
So when do you plant these out? How long would it take?
These would now, because we're in September, so these would root sort of next spring, and you would tease these out. Once they're rooted, you would tease these out and pop them into a 9 centimetre or 10 centimetre pot, and then once they're rooted through, which wouldn't take too long, only another couple of months, you'd be planting these out next May, next June time in the garden. So it's a nice little job to do, and then you're ready for your next. And once you get the bug for it, you end up taking cuttings of lots of different plants in your garden, and you can, like I say, you can either give them to friends or family, or sell them. Yeah,
that's a good idea. Christmas coming up.
It is, absolutely, absolutely.
Especially the little
conifer.
Start decorating it.
Yes, like a little miniature Christmas tree.
So, any more tips? Tips for the month?
Well, the tips for the month and the jobs for the month are because we're doing cuttings. Usually, it's because most things are finished flowering and they've gone over past the best now. So all you would do is do some light pruning, provisional pruning, where you take about a third of the growth off any shrubs that you've got, flowering shrubs. That'll help produce flower growth for next year. So just tidying up in the garden, making sure you haven't got any bugs or anything like that that's in your garden. Because the weather's still quite mild, we're getting lots of caterpillars and bugs and things affecting the plants. So check for those, spray for those. But it's just at the moment it's just tidying up in the garden and just making things nice and neat. Things are to finish flowering. If you've got any herbaceous perennials that have gone over, you can cut them back to quite low in the ground just to neaten them up, because they start to look tatty, and just giving space to all the plants around them to give them a chance.
Well, I know my gooseberry bush has done well. I think something's eaten all the leaves and it's actually stripped it. Yeah. Do you know what's caused it?
Well, that'll most likely be sawfly, which isn't a fly, it's actually a caterpillar, and normally it would just completely strip the leaf, and make a really mess, and it can kill the plant eventually if it's on a bad. You can either pick them off, which is the environmental friendly thing to do, or you can use a insecticide. And because you can normally see the sawfly just attacking the leaves and chewing the leaves, you can use an ordinary contact insecticide. Nothing too special. Don't use soap and water and things like that. It just won't work. Just go out, buy a contact insecticide, and with it being a gooseberry, and so it's obviously a fruit, I would use a contact one rather than a systemic insecticide, because a systemic insecticide will go into the fruit, and especially when you've got
mine past that stage.
No, I would.
Would you have to cut it right down and hope for next year?
If it looks tatty, you can prune it back. Have you finished? If all the fruit's finished on it,
the fruit didn't get a chance.
Well, I would prune it back, and then that will generate a lot of new growth for next year. So you should get a bumper crop next year. Right. But what I would do, when the leaf starts to appear in the spring, spray it with a systemic one, and it'll give it that added.
That's the same thing will happen again.
Yeah, the same thing. Yeah. You've got to break the cycle, especially with insects. So,
right, okay. So lots happened since last time we were here at Markeaton. Can you tell us some of the things that have happened?
Yeah, we've. From when we first started filming the Green Fingertips here at Markeaton, we finished the fig room, or the multi-purpose room. The multi-purpose room is for dog walkers, and also I do talks there on a weekly or bi-weekly basis. Little workshops, gardening workshops, a little bit like what we've done today with the taking cuttings and things like that. So that's we're really pleased that that's all finished now and it's usable. Also, customers will be really pleased to hear that we've actually improved the size of the car park, which is almost impossible here because we're short of space, but we've reduced the size of the greenhouses that we've got here and put additional car parking in.
So that's still underway?
Yeah, that's kind of finished now, and then we're doing a covered area for the composts and things like that to make it easier for customers, and so the bags aren't wet when people are picking up the compost, which can make it really, really heavy.
We've got the cafe here.
Yeah, we've got the cafe. The cafe's doing extremely well, and we've got the bistro nights, which we run quite a few times during the month, and we've got dates up on the blackboard now right up to December. So planning ahead and book your bistro nights. The bistro nights are very, very good. The food is amazing. I know I would say that, but it really is.
So Mark, we're just outside the fig room, and what's this plant?
Well, this is a fruiting banana. It's a dwarf fruiting banana. This is a Cavendish dwarf. Get no bigger than say 4 or 5 foot, and it produces bananas in this country. So you know what a banana looks like, Liz?
I do, Mark.
But this is actually a plantain.
Not a banana?
Not a banana. This is actually what you normally see in a supermarket. A real banana is only about so big, and same looking thing, but very, very small. But these are the kind of things that you get in supermarkets. So you don't actually get bananas in supermarkets.
They do taste like a banana.
They do taste like a banana, Liz, but you're getting more bang for your buck for a bigger size banana. That's why supermarkets sell this size. And did you know that broccoli that you get in supermarkets, you know, the broccoli that looks like miniature trees? Well, that's not actually broccoli.
And what's that then, Mark?
That is what's called calabrese.
Calabrese.
So it's not actually broccoli. People think I'm crazy when I tell them that, but it is. It's called Calabrese.
Same family.
Same sort of family, brassica family. But the purple stem or long stem broccoli that you get in supermarkets, that's the true broccoli. Right. That's true broccoli. But the big bushy little miniature trees that you get, that you see in every single supermarket, is actually Calabrese and not broccoli.
Oh,
so you learn something every day here on Green Fingertips. Okay.
So, how do the viewers get in touch with you, Mark?
Well, they can get in touch with me by phoning Markeaton's phone number and asking me any questions they want, so long as they're plant related and not medical. You can search for us on Facebook. We've got our own Facebook page, which also includes the potting shed tea room that we've got here. But if they want to leave any comments or they want to leave any pictures, and I can get back to them if they want to ask any questions via that. That's always a good way, because we update the Facebook page on a weekly basis, so it's a good way of contacting us. Or like I say, come in and visit, see me in person. That's always good, and if they've got any problems, you can bring the plant in. If they want it identifying, you get a lot of that where they want plants identifying, or send it in, and via Burton TV as a JPEG or a video or something like that, and we can answer it on future programmes.
Right. Well, I hope the viewers have found this really interesting, as I have. I've learned a few tips.
Yeah.
So, Mark, that's the end of Green Fingertips.
Yeah, and we shall see you next month.
We'll see you next month. Thank you. We're here. Okay.
But you obviously know what a banana looks like, don't you?
Any more tips, Mark?
No. That's it, I'm spent. I've spent. I've got a banana and I know what to do with it. Plantains are much bigger, much chunkier bananas. Real bananas are no bigger than that sort of size.
Really?
They're very tiny ones. Why do we do it to ourselves? Why? So then you're supposed to say, why are they called bananas?